When it comes to retirement, there's a really important concept that I've noticed can be hard for people to grasp at first, but is extremely empowering once they truly take it to heart. And that concept is very simple. What got us here may not get us there. One of the biggest challenges pre-retirees and retirees face is understanding that all the tools, all the resources, all of the ideas, the concepts, the investing may not work as well once we're in retirement. But the hard part is it works beautifully for 20 or 30 or 40 years. And so we are literally almost deprogramming Pavlov's dogs. And I know that sounds kind of weird to say, but let me explain in a little more detail. When we're younger, 25, 35, 45, even frankly in our early 50s, we don't have to worry as much about the timing of the market. We can just put money into our 401k plan, hopefully we get a match, and we can let that money grow. And the time we spend in the market is what helps us accumulate wealth. Now, volatility exists, it's not fun, but when we're 45 years old and the market, like a 2008 or pandemic in 2020, the first few months of 2020, when we have these major financial market pullbacks, they're not fun to experience, but the reality is at 45 or even 55 years old, we're not taking money out of our 401ks. We're not making withdrawals from our IRAs. What are we doing? We're actually putting money into the system. So although we have volatility, we don't have withdrawals. And the challenge though is that for the first time in our entire life, we will finally face volatility and withdrawals in retirement. And what we've seen firsthand with hundreds of families that we've met with over the years is that introducing withdrawals into the conversation is a concept that most people have never actually thought through. So a common thought process, let's say that I'm a savvy investor, a do-it-yourself personality type, which is fantastic, and I'm 60 years old. And for the last 20 years, my portfolio, my investment account, has averaged 12%. Now, we all know how averages work. It doesn't return 12% every single year. Guys, if it did that, I would do it, you would do it, it'd be amazing. But the reality is a 12% average looks like this. Up 6, down 2, up 15, up 25, down 30, up 4, whatever the numbers are, I'm making them up as I go, but you understand the moral of the story. A 12% average is never a 12% actual return. It's a 12% average, which was made up by 10, 15, 20 different yields that were all vastly different. The market goes like this, but the averages look like that. And when we get to retirement, our brain goes, wait a second, if I've been averaging 12%, I'm 60 years old, I've been doing myself for 20 plus years, I've been average 12. I can take out 6% and I'm still making money every single year. And again, if it worked that way, I would do it, you would do it, we would all do it. It'd be very, very simple and easy to do. But again, if we're being honest with ourselves, if we're being intellectually consistent, I think we can all agree that it doesn't work like that. If the market is up 12 and we take out 6, great, we're doing well that year. But what happens if the market's down 12 and we take out 6? Now we're down 18 and we have to make over 20% just to get back to 0. So once we introduce withdrawals to the equation that already has volatility, it changes the concept, it changes the game, and deprogramming that, what got us here may not get us there, is actually quite challenging. Because what the do-it-yourselfer mentality misses is the sequence of return impact on our portfolio in retirement. And so one of the things that we encourage everyone to do, whether they're working with an advisor already or a planner or a broker, or they're a do-it-yourselfer, let's model out not what your portfolio would look like from a risk standpoint, or model out what it would grow to over 20 years with an average yield of 7. Let's introduce real-world returns with withdrawals. How does our portfolio stack up? And what's the longevity of that portfolio once we're actually moving money out of it versus just putting money into it? But more importantly, if it's doing well, one of the questions we encourage everyone to ask is, could it be better? Could we make it more efficient? And one of the things we teach clients is that a true financial plan is more than just a stack of investments. If we sit down with a family who's been referred to us and we say, what's your financial plan? And they put down a Schwab statement, a Vanguard statement, a T. Rowe Price statement, a Fidelity statement, we know as planners that is not a plan. Those are 4 different investment accounts, but a stack of investments does not make a plan. The analogy I love to use is a car analogy. If you ask someone, what kind of car do you drive? They would never describe their 4 tires. They would never describe their seats or whether they're, leather seats or cloth seats. They would never describe just the engine or just the transmission. What they would describe is the car. And the reality is all those little individual pieces by themselves do exist, but none of those pieces by themselves create a vehicle. A vehicle is the sum of its parts. And a true financial plan is more than a stack of investments. A true financial plan is more than just knowing I've got X dollars in Social Security at age 67. A true financial plan is more than just knowing, hey, I've got X number of dollars in a Roth IRA that's not gonna be taxed in the future. How all of these pieces come together is what builds a true financial plan. And one of the concepts that's important for people to understand is that our investments were never designed to sustain us through retirement by themselves with withdrawals and volatility if we want to have the confidence and clarity to sleep well at night every night. Because here's what I think everyone who's being intellectually honest with themselves can agree to. The markets will fluctuate. And yes, if the markets are down 10% and you draw your income and you're patient, it should come back over time. Here's what the real world tells us. Here's what hundreds of conversations with real retirees tells us. No one wants to retire and worry about if they're going to be okay throughout their retirement. No one wants to be on a beach in Cabo enjoying a wonderful trip and they get a text on their phone from Fidelity saying your portfolio just had a 5% loss and now their vacation's ruined because they're panicking. What a true financial plan gives them is the confidence to know whether the markets are up or down or sideways, their income is secure. Their cash flow is consistent and it's predictable. And if there is volatility, they have the overall plan to allow them to be patient and allow that portfolio to come back by not touching it. What we don't want is to be in a position where the markets might be down 5 or 10 or 15% like we've seen multiple times over the last few years. The market has done very well, but throughout the year, it might have a 5% loss. Heck, earlier this year, we had a 9% drop in 2 days. And if a pre-retiree, or more importantly, an existing retiree, wasn't sure how their income would be consistent if their portfolio lost 9% in 2 days, I think it's fair to assume that person might make bad decisions. They might panic sell. They might move money that they don't need to move into things they don't need to move them into. They might go to cash and then it rebounds and they miss it. The moral of the story is this. I'm not saying investments are bad. They are a crucial part of a true financial plan, but they are 1/5 of a plan. And a true plan also looks at income. Where do we draw it from? How consistent is it? How reliable is it? Does it generate income for us whether the markets are up or down or sideways? That's how we build a plan that doesn't rely on the hope that the markets will average 12% for us to have a successful retirement. What we want our clients to know with more confidence than they ever imagined is whether the markets are up 5, down 5, up 10, or down 10, their cash flow is steady, their income is secure, and they can go out and enjoy the retirement they've worked 20 or 30, 40 years for. If you're not crystal clear on those concepts, I invite you to come sit down with our team of advisors. Let's stress test your plan. Let's see what the portfolio looks like once we introduce withdrawals. And let's make sure that you have a full financial plan with all 5 key pillars that was built to last regardless of market conditions. We want to make sure that we have a plan, not a hope. If you're not crystal clear on those things for your individual situation, come sit down with us. Let's have a conversation and let's see how our Retire Forward process can give you the clarity that we know you deserve to have.